The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Not far away on a rugged section of the California coast, a lone cypress clings to a barren rock and struggles to survive. All the while, we float high above Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, which today plays host to a different kind of struggle, round 12 of 15 on the IDA GT3 series schedule, and you'll be able to watch all the action from green flag to victory donuts live as it happens here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. From the Golden State, hello and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. I'm your host, Bill Souzan. With me is Samuel Ryman, Joe Peak directing, and the camera sets have been provided by Dougie Beard. This broadcast is made possible thanks to the good folks at the Screwed Gamers, Card Action Zanardi, and Zanardi Course Australia, and the Screwed Gamers and Card Action Media. And we'll keep things interesting. There's 500 Wallaby Darns in the prize pool. Sam? Let me tell you, these IDA guys are noted for their unique formats. What's in store for us today?
Well, it's a format we've seen before this season, Bill, but it still took us a little while to get used to it. It is the Super Sprint format. This is round 12 of a 15-race season. They got various GT3 cars out there doing a 30-minute open qualifying right now. We'll get to that in just a second. The cars, they have the Mercedes out there, the BMWs, the Audis and McLarens and the Fords. Whichever car you take at the start of the season, in theory, is meant to be the one you have at the end of the season as well. Open setups, no fast repairs, 46 incident point cap. However, you don't want to go that high. Once you get to about 15, you begin getting deducted points. Now, talking about this Super Sprint format, as we mentioned, they're in a 30-minute qualifying session right now. You see in the clock in the top left corner of your screen that we've got less than a minute of that to go. However, that's only going to set the grid for the Heat 1 race. We have a 15-minute heat race about to come up. Now, you would think, okay, well, the drivers will finish that heat race and that will set the grid for the main event. Not quite. They're going to have a heat race again in the afternoon, so the finishing order from this heat race sets the grid for the second heat race, and when we say the afternoon, we're just advancing the time in iRacing. It will actually take place in about 30 minutes from now. And then, of course, after that second 15-minute heat race, that is the order they cross the line there is the order they start up for the main event, and that is where standard points will be awarded, Bill.
Absolutely. And they're just wrapping up the qualifying right now. As Sam said, it was a 30-minute qualification, so they're all done. They're posting their times. Put in this little 15-minute. Now, the first stint, they just want to keep it clean. We're seeing up there some familiar faces. We have a few wild card drivers who've come in to add a little spice to the series as it works its way through the back half. Still about a minute to go in qualifying. I think we can maybe show a picture. We have time to show the picture of the Laguna Seca lap map if we can. There you go. Sam, tell us a little bit about this track.
Well, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, Bill, was one of the most famous racetracks among iRacers. Not only is it one of the circuits that comes free when you sign up for iRacing, but it's just a well-known track for even amateur racing drivers. There's a lot of racing schools, driving schools, and grassroots divisions compete here. That being said, it's still far from easy. The infamous corkscrew and the insert obscenity here, turn 6, have been known to play havoc with even the best of drivers. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting seeing what kind of racing we get out there, because everyone's familiar with the track, but it definitely has its few hazards.
And the Andretti hairpin there, corner number 2, usually exciting on the first lap as all the cars are bunched up. One of the disadvantages to this kind of format is we're going to have them bunched up not once, not twice, but 3 times, and on the 3rd time it'll be for the points. So if I was a ticket buying somebody in the crowd that was buying a ticket, I'd like to get something down there near that horseshoe today. So there's going to be a lot of excitement going on down there with about 27 seconds left to qualifying. Remember, round 12 of 15, this series is beginning to close in to the end there, and we can say that Gary that Richard Green Eggs and Hampstead had a great race last time for the double points race. Really opened up his point gap. We'll try to get you those points before one of the other heats that start up. Okay, that's it for qualifying as everyone's putting in their final laps. Let's go ahead and set the grid for you as they have a long rolling start, and through this rolling start it'll give us a chance to look at the track as well. On the front row, Sam, is going to be Gary Hamilton and our newcomer Joshua K. Rogers in row 1. Sam?
Yeah, and then we got Richard Hampstead there and Riley Blythe on the second row. Once again, this is all just the starting order for the first heat race.
Ian Ford, another newcomer, and Simon Fiegel, second in the points right now in row 3.
John Peisnick, the only driver in the field in the Ford GT, will line up in 7th place, a bit far back from him. And then the driver we just saw on camera, he was our winner last week at Bathurst, is Anthony Winkleman. He will start 8th.
In one of the few McLarens out there, it's Justin Strickland. Outside of him, a veteran, Mark Rayner.
Yeah, and then starting behind them on the 6th row of the grid, we've got Martin Salvazzi along with league organizer Clint Smith.
Jeremiah Salty Morton, who made a great jump in the points, now sitting in 4th, made up 3 spots. And outside of him, I wonder if there's any relation here, Philip Morton.
Well, on the 8th row behind them, we've got Damien McPhee. I don't think he's related to David Jellins.
Mark Simon in the 17th position, sitting 18th, Phil Gadd.
Yeah, and then rounding out the top 20, we got TJ Brown and Aaron Farmer.
Looking in the Blackjacks position, it's Jackson Freer of Apex Mafia Racing and Nina Natal in 22nd, rounding out the field, Jake Maloney.
Yeah, Jake Maloney's not actually in the session right now. It looks like he's disconnected, so that would lead us down to 22 cars. Now, of all those drivers, I think all of them have been in the race before, except I don't recall. I've seen Nino Natel around here on iRacing before, and then GSRC broadcasts, and Joshua Rogers actually just lost the internet connection, so that could be a story worth following. But Nino Natel, the interesting thing about him being out there, he actually has a Golf liveried McLaren, one of a few McLarens, and when I say few, I mean I think we have 3 McLarens in this race. But right now the field is rolling off, and Joshua Rogers, who was set to start second, is not out there, and Nino Natel, who was set to start at the back, I guess he's going to elect to start from the pits.
Again, a bad news, good news situation. Of course, Joshua, I like to call him, the K stands for Kenneth, but I like to call it Kenny Rogers there. The gambler, he's going to miss this time, but he's going to be able to get back in for the next event. He'll start from the back, and he'll have 15 minutes to work his way up, and then get somewhere close, maybe into the middle of the grid for a nice run in that 20-minute main event at the end. 15, 15, and 20, a triple header today. That adds up to about 1 hour of racing, as we have a complete lap all the way around. Now, as you watch the cars go all around, look at the dust. Remember, the track is not cleaned, and these cars have been going off. Watch as they go through here. Look at the dust on the outside lane kicking up. Makes you want to make sure that you have your air filter in good working order there.
Yeah, and of course the concern for that on sim racing is tyres. The tyres will have a bit less grip when they're going over that dust. Now, as you mentioned, a lot of it is offline, but some of it could easily get kicked onto the racing line if these drivers abuse these turns a little bit. This is that turn 6 going that I was talking about in the intro there. Very easy to overshoot that turn, very easy to undershoot that turn, very easy to just completely screw up that turn, and who knows what the heck happened. That turn is definitely going to be one to keep an eye on today.
And it's dusty right out there at corner exit 2. We'll see how that plays. Then through the infamous corkscrew, down around through Rainy. Then the final 2 corners, the pace car will pull off here in just a minute. It doesn't actually go to the final corner here. It'll make this little right-hander. I believe this is turn 10. And there's the pit entrance right there. Pace car ducks in. Gary Hamilton. Now, outside of Gary, I guess they're going to let him pick up. There's going to be... Looks like it's going to be... My timing and scoring is a little off. We'll get that reset. But there's... Buckle up the... Gather up the chickens. Take cover behind the cows. The horses are out of the barn, and Gary Hamilton leads them down into the first corner. That's Riley Blythe on the outside.
Yes, Riley Blythe who gets to pick up a position, but already he's lost all those positions he got to pick up as David Drellins is off at the back there. Nice move into second place by Richard Hanstead. Justin Strickland off.
Simon Fiegel gets around Ian Ford, a pair of teammates there. Fiegel up into fourth, Ford dropping back into fifth. Peacenik in sixth, Wilkeman in seventh.
Yes, so they all avoided the argy-bargy through the first couple of turns, but a couple of drivers, David Drellins and Justin Strickland notably, went off the track and dropped to the back. And I don't see Nino Natal out on track yet, so we got just 19 cars racing right now, sorry, 20 cars racing right now.
And all of them are going single file through.
Oh.
We got a little bit of guy who is off there, and a little bit of contact in the back. Looks like David Jellings and Farmer, huh?
Aaron Farmer and Justin Strickland. Farmer had completely messed up the entry of a corkscrew there. He was like too wide, and then the problem was as he tried to come back on the racetrack, and Strickland wasn't having any of that.
Yeah, the green McLaren really didn't have anywhere to go. We're going to watch that on replay. Other than that, a pretty clean first lap.
Oh, and you can see Farmer, the reason he was off is because of the car in front of him. And there wasn't a lot of place that Strickland could go because he had TJ Brown alongside him.
Now there are no fast repairs in this 15-minute heat race, but they'll be able to get clean cars when they come back for the afternoon race. But right now in the morning, they just want to get through, especially the guys up front. It's kind of a risk versus reward type thing. Maybe pick up a position if you can do it safely. You don't want to have trouble and fall back because that could ruin your whole race, your whole day.
Phil Gadd just lost a few positions over in the turn 3-4 complex. He ran wide and dropped back a few spots. We've seen a few cars do that in the early stages here.
Looking at
TJ
Brown. Just a little self-spin there. Looked like it was in sixth, the dusty part of sixth. That's hard enough without there being a beach out there to try to go through.
Yeah, I think we need to... I don't think we need to keep saying the dusty part of the track, Bill. I think we need to note the parts of the track that aren't dusty. It'll be easier for us.
Well, what I believe will happen now, I'm not sure about this, I think they'll get a clean track when they come back for the next section. I think all that dust is out there from practice and qualifying. So when we break here for the morning, come back in the afternoon, the sweepers will be out there, and it'll be all pretty for that next 15-minute race.
Jeremiah Morton... Sorry, I was trying to work out what was going on with him there.
Well, let me say this about Jeremiah, because we didn't get to the points. He had a great race. Remember, our last race at Bathurst was double points. Morton had a great finish and really brought... And let's go ahead and look at this battle here. Fifth place, Ian Ford is being challenged by John Peacenik in the Ford. So Ford being chased by a Ford. Just to follow up on Morton, he had a great points race and scored lots of points. Made up 3 spots and pulled up into the top 5.
Yeah, Jackson Freer and Phil Gadd just had a bit of a coming together. A very minor one. They just dropped back to the back of the field. The thing that was confusing me about Jeremiah Morton is it was telling me he was in the pits, and then it was telling me he wasn't, and he hadn't lost any positions. What had happened to Jeremiah Morton is in the Andretti hairpin, the back end had kicked out, and he'd gone through the infield and gone across the pit exit tarmac there.
Let's go up to fourth with Riley Blythe. Riley Blythe just ducked in. Oh, Blythe having a hard time now being challenged. He's losing position. This is Ian Ford going side by side. Blythe gets a bite out of the dust there, able to hang on to fourth. But meanwhile, Simon Fagel was able to get around him. Fagel into third, Blythe in fourth, and Ian Ford now running up the top 5. And chasing them all is Joe Peacenik in that Ford.
Yeah, well, of course, we documented Riley Blythe got to move up a couple of positions at the start. He almost lost that all in the first turn, but has held on to it pretty good as Anthony Winkleman has a bit of a hairy moment at the back of the picture there. Put a couple wheels off on the exit of 5, and that could have led to disaster if he'd hit the gas pedal a bit too hard, but nope, he held it together pretty well.
Winkelmann, one of the wild cards that they've led in here about halfway through the season, a little past halfway, had a great job at Bathurst. I believe was the winner. Sam and I were remembering. I think he came home with the checkered flag from the Mount Panorama event as we ride on board now with John Piesnick looking ahead at Ian Ford.
Yeah, and John, of course, was one of the drivers who bit the dust at Bathurst, which doesn't help him a whole lot in the championship. He's in the middle of his train right now, which kind of starts with Fiegel up in 4th, although he's broke away from it a bit. Really, the chain goes from 5th back to, Fiegel's now in 3rd. Fiegel's now in 3rd. It goes from 4th back to 7th. Riley Blythe, Ian Ford, John Piesnick and Anthony Winkelmann.
And it was our points leader, Richard Hampstead, was the only regular who was able to get a good result from Bathurst. He came home with, I think, 4th behind a couple new wild cards. But what was important for him, it was double points in all of his competition. Like Sam said, Piesnick, Fagel, all had trouble. So he has a giant points lead now with the series winding down. Great camera shot. Look at him coming right at you. Thank you, Dougie Beard, for those great camera shots. We see Ian Ford working around.
We're approaching the halfway point in the first heat race here, and they're currently on lap 5. So I think we're going to get about 11 laps in this event right now. Gary Hamilton is cruising up front. He's had some connection trouble up there. I've seen him blinking a few times, but he seems to be holding on okay. All 20 cars that start this race are still on track on the lead lap.
And no real movers here. Everyone up maybe 2 or 3 positions, down 2 or 3 positions. The only real loser so far, Justin Strickland in that green McLaren, and we saw him have issues in the corkscrew.
And as I say that, Phil Gadd and TJ Brown are both off course. TJ Brown's actually lost the front end of his machine back there, and that's not good for that Audi. I guess I jinxed it for TJ Brown, but honestly I don't think it cost him that many positions. He was running at the back anyway. It had a couple of off-track excursions early on. The good news is he'll be able to get a new car and just have his work cut out for him in the second heat race. A big hit coming out of 6th.
And the good news for that spin for Phil Gadd is we didn't get your spin on the camera because it happened almost at the same time. 2 separate incidents, not related to each other. Meanwhile, our leader, Gary Hamilton, out there in front, spiral slice, running away with this. He's got about a 2-second lead over Richard Hampstead. So it's spiral slice ahead of Green Eggs. And then we talked about Strickland having trouble. Now he's working his way back up, trying to make his way back up for that mistake. Coming up behind Philip Morton through the corkscrew right now. We ride on board with Justin.
I saw someone attempt that move in our 30-minute qualifying session. It didn't work out well.
People seem to be settled down. This is the best battle right here. We can stay on Justin for a little while longer because it's a nice camera angle.
Oh, Jeremiah Morton got a really bad exit out of the final turn, and now Philip Morton's actually going to be looking for 12th on the outside of him. That's not going to work unless he drives in real deep, which he does, but he now risks being passed by Strickland.
Oh, Strickland almost gets his nose in there. All happened in front of that McLaren. Morton and Morton.
Strickland's McLaren holding up well considering that blow he took on the opening lap.
I do like the paint scheme on Jeremiah's there. He's got a nice little GSRC on there. Followed by Philip. Both those drivers racing Mercedes.
Yeah, you say that battle's one of the best on track. I think we still need to keep an eye on this one from 4th to 7th. Riley Blythe has made a couple of mistakes this lap, and I think Ian Ford is thinking it's soon time to capitalise on it. Meanwhile, Philip Morton is off.
And he's going to lose a spot to Mark Simon. He's going to drop back into 14th position. Loses it to Simon and Morton. And actually now Strickland has managed, as you watch here, through all that chaos, that McLaren is able to get around all those guys up into 12th.
You see Philip still on course here on the replay as they go up into the corkscrew. That's where he hits his treble.
Oh, look at that. Right in front of the other Morton. And that's what scared him, and that let Strickland get around him. Woo!
That could have been very ugly.
That's what you call missing your break point.
I think he got a bit on the grass and so didn't have much of a break point. The brakes don't work well when your tyres aren't on the ground.
Now we're back looking up front where the real battle is, although I think these guys are just kind of playing it safe right now. Riley Blythe out there in 4th position, Ian Ford in 5th, Peasnick in 6th, Winkleman in 7th. Christmas came early for
not Winkleman. He spins, hits the wall. That's not a very happy Christmas.
Not at all.
He's dented his rear wing. He's still coming back out on track. Pit road's just one turn away and he's coming down.
Boy, with 4 minutes to go, you might as well not even come out here. You can see him. It's the corkscrew. Oh no, it's actually out of the corkscrew. It's through Rainy, isn't it?
Yeah, he just overshoots. He gets his wheels on the gravel here, exiting Rainy, and it just swings his car sideways and hard into the wall. So very unfortunate. But as you mentioned, Bill, that does mean with the second heat race coming up in the future, he's just disconnected from the race, and he'll have his work cut out for him in that heat race. And it'll be interesting to see how high up he can work his way through the field, given that he was a front runner right here. Meanwhile, we go back to this battle now. You see 4 cars in it, but obviously we had 4 cars in it before. One of them was Winkleman. It's not anymore. The reason we see 4 cars in it now is because these pack for 4th, 5th and 6th has actually, I think, closed up a bit on Simon Fagel here. I think Fagel is still safe up there in 3rd position, but he's going to have to keep an eye on his rearview mirror with Riley Blythe, Ian Ford and John Peisnick now leading the tail end of that train, although I almost wonder if Peisnick, after what happened to him at Bathurst, he's just looking to get out of here with a solid finish. Meanwhile, the leader has just crossed the start-finish line, Gary Hamilton, to start lap number 10. It looks like this will be an 11-lap race, which probably means the second heat race will also be 11 laps. Now, of course, the drivers, even though the track will be cleared for the second heat race, there's still not going to be a whole lot of grip out there because the track temperature is going to go up. Right now, they have a very cool track temperature. It is actually 75 degrees last time I checked. It's still 75 degrees, but the second heat race will be in the afternoon, so it'll be slightly bit warmer. And right now we're seeing connection issues for Riley Blythe that in 4th place. Seems a few drivers are being plagued by that this evening. I mean, we had and Peisnick is looking under Ian Ford for 5th place. He sticks his nose in there, but doesn't make anything out of it. I'm not sure going too wide through the corkscrew is a very wise idea, so he stays back in 6th for now. But it's probably shaken Ian Ford up a little bit, although Peisnick goes off there. I almost wonder if he was trying to rattle Ian Ford's cage and say, hey, I'm going to think about taking 5th place from you on the final lap. It's going to be very hard for him to do that now, though, because he dropped back there a little bit. But they've just began the final lap here, Bill, and it looks like Gary Hamilton's got it in the bag. Oh, and trouble for Philip Morton. He's crashed hard into the wall. Very unfortunate with just 2 laps left to go. And that is going to cost him 2 positions. We'll see it here on replay. He was running in 14th. He is now down to 16th as the on-screen graphics show. So that will give Philip Morton a bit of extra work to do in that second heat race. But Gary Hamilton now coming through turn 6 for the final time. He's about to come up the hill and through the corkscrew. And of course, all this means is he'll get to start on pole position, not even for the main event, just pole position for the heat race. But if he keeps doing what he's done this race, it should be an easy victory for him today. Once again, it's standard points, but I'm sure he'll take those points however he can. Gary Hamilton has been unchallenged this race. He's about to come through the final turn in that number 111 Mercedes. Put the pedal all the way down to the ground. Gary Hamilton is going to take the heat race number 1 win here at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. Following him across the line is Richard Hampstead in second. Fagel, Riley Blythe, Ian Ford in 5th. John Peisnick made another mistake on the final lap as far back in 6th. Bolds onto that position ahead of Mark Rayner. Clint Smith, solid finish by our league organiser there. He's going to get an 8th place entirely on pace. Martin Silvazzi and then Damien McPhee round out the top 10. And then Justin Strickland comes to finish 11th place after starting at the back of the field. He was involved in a bit of an incident on the opening lap. And I also just want to, as we watch the rest of the field to finish up our race here, I want to give a shout out to TJ Brown. We saw him lose a nose of his car earlier on during the race as we watch the rest of the field finish up. But the last car you will see on your screen at the end here will be TJ Brown in the number 15 machine. He's going to come across the line and salvage a 19th place finish in a really beat up car, but hey, it's still running and still pointing in the right direction. And as I say that, Hamilton is actually going full speed. I think he may have added an extra lap here. I've been calling them all across the line a bit too early. Okay, maybe now Gary Hamilton's going to take the lead, but the order remains unchanged, although, yep, the order remains unchanged, so I apologise for that. Now they're all crossing the line. Alright, well, I apologise for the premature calling of the order there, though. Are they going to add another lap? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think so. The checkered flag is definitely out now. But the order remains unchanged. We read through the whole order. And now you just get to see the cars finishing the race for real. We'll get to do this all again. Who knows if it'll be 11 or 12 or 13 laps in the second heat race. As we mentioned, it will be here on the Global Sim Racing channel. You will get to see all the action unfold. And if it's anything like a heat race, it'll definitely be worth checking out. Didn't see a whole lot of on-track battles. I think a lot of drivers know that they've got a lot of racing still left to do. They just wanted to salvage a decent finishing position to give them a good amount of a good starting position for the second heat race, and then of course hopefully for them all that will lead into a good starting position for the main event. So there's Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. We'll be back here in just a few moments for the second heat race of the day here on the Global Sim Racing channel.
Alright, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Laguna Seca. The bend over the crest is technically turn 1, but it's flat out the whole way over. From there, line the car up on the right and brake for the Andretti hairpin. This is probably your best passing opportunity on the track, so expect lots of action around this double apexer. As we pass the pit exit, we switch left and get the car slowed for 3. Greedy drivers will probably run wide here often. Then it's a short burst before 4, which is a pretty fast right-hander. But it's critical to nail it because there's a bit of a stretch until 5. Anyone close to you could take advantage of a mistake and sneak a pass up the inside into this uphill left turn. And you really don't want to be going too wide here because this turn is all about momentum since it's cambered and very steep on exit. After that, 6 is even less desirable to go through side by side. It's a sharp flick and single file only. Cars can end up in the walls on either side with the smallest mistake. But by now we're at the top of the Rahal Straight and hitting the infamous corkscrew. Blind braking point, blind turn in, blind everything as you drop down multiple stories of elevation. Before you have time to relax though, you're into Rainy Curve. This is the longest turn on the track and it's got a very late apex. From there, we cross the track and brush the brakes for 10. Lots of banking here, so carry your speed through the apex. At last, it's the final hairpin. Once again, if you're sneaky and your opponent makes a mistake, this can be a possible place to pass. Just be careful that it doesn't become a dive bomb. From there, head back up the hill to the start-finish line and complete a lap around Laguna Seca.
This is the Global Sim Racing channel, and my mic is hot now, and you've just seen a lap around Laguna Seca, narrated by the one and only Joe Peak. Now, let's go ahead right now, and we're going to take a look at the points. We're going to start with the driver's points. Now, just when things started to tighten up a little bit, Richard Hampstead hits it big at Bathurst. While most of the competition fell victim to Mount Panorama walls, Green Eggs brought it home in 4th, scoring a whopping 250 points because of that double points race. Now, he was behind 3 other hotshot wildcards who were not battling for any of the championship. Now, out of the drop race insurance was John Pistix, and he had a no-show, and that dropped him from 2nd down into 3rd. Simon Fagel took advantage of that and to take Pacenik's place. The big winner was, as I mentioned earlier on, was for Lit Motorsports. It was Jeremiah Salty Morton, jumping 3 spots into 4th, pushing Riley Bryce right off the overlay, and then Justin Strickland held position in 5th. I think probably, if Joe has it, I think we can probably do team points right now. Since I'm doing it, we'll bring those up, try to get everything in here. Now, let's look at these team points. We talked about Salty Morton's big jump in the driver standings, and it paid off dividends for him and his teammate as well, Jackson Freer, as Lit Motorsports moves into the lead. Now, Zachary Hanlon picked up a 2-race suspension because he was a little too aggressive while racing, so Riley Blythe is going to have to do it all by himself, do twice as hard to keep Evolution Racing challenging for the crown. Apex Mafia reaches its highest spot all season as Martin Slavasi and Mark Simon now sit in 3rd. A pair of solo drivers in 4th and 5th, Scott Tamlin for Dynamic Sim Racing 1 and Richard Hampstead for Team TTL 1. Woo! Sit in there in 4th and 5th. Sam, let's talk real quickly about the weather. A little hotter here in California in the afternoon.
Yeah, in this morning the track temperature was 75 degrees. Now granted, ambient temperature right now is only 73, but the track temperature has increased to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which means the cars will have a little less grip out there and also be running a bit slower lap times, which may reduce the race to 11 laps in length. Turned out, I went back and watched it, there were 6 seconds still left on the clock when they completed lap 11 in this morning's heat race. That's why it was a 12-lap race. We'll have to wait and see if this 30-degree track temperature increase reduces the race length here by 1 lap, and if that will shake up the order, if we have any battles taking place on the final lap of this race. But as you mentioned, Bill, the track has been cleared of dust, although these drivers have had 10 minutes of warm-up to try and kick it all back up and make this track just the way it was in the first heat race.
The Walrus and the Carpenter went walking hand in hand. They wept like anything to see such quantities of sand. If only this were cleared away, they said it would be grand. Well, I think they got their wish. 7 maids with 7 mops probably did their job. And now, with only 5 minutes to go into the practice session. 5 seconds, I apologize. Let's go ahead as the grid's going to come up. Now remember, this is going to be the same finishing order that we just had there. So as soon as we get done, we'll go ahead and bring this up. Otherwise, I will quote a little more Lewis Stevenson here for you. Now we got our grid up there. All great. So here's the winners sitting on the front row. It was Gary Hamilton. That's Spiral Slice. Next to him, Richard Green Eggs and Hampstead. Sam?
Yes, Simon Fagel will start third, and Riley Blythe will start fourth, like he did in the morning's heat race, but he actually got to start second because of the driver Joshua Rogers disconnecting in front of him. Maybe that's bad news for Richard Hampstead there.
In the third row, it's Ian Ford and John Piestick.
And then Mark Rayner and Clint Smith, solid finish in the first heat race. He'll start 8th.
Yeah, great spot for Smith there in 8th position. Martin Slavasa, we talked about him for Apex Mafia, up there inside of the McLaren of Justin Strickland.
Yeah, Strickland will get to start in the top 10 despite only finishing 11th in the morning heat race. Jeremiah Morton and Mark Simon there in row 6.
David Jellings and Aaron Farmer. Boy, Farmer's fun to watch. He is tough to get around, sitting in 14th position.
And then Philip Morton and Phil Gadd there. They both ran into trouble in the morning heat race. I'll roll off on row 8.
Jackson Freer, TJ Brown, and Nino Natal make up the 19 drivers who've come back. Now, we had 22 for the first round, and it should be mentioned that it didn't look like I guess it's Joshua Rogers did not get in here.
Yeah, well, Joshua Rogers would have had his work cut out for him. We had 23 drivers sign up for the morning session, but only 20 took a green, and Joshua Rogers was one of those who had connection issues that wasn't able to take a green. The thing I'm confused about here is, like I said, we got 19 drivers, and 20 of them were in the morning's heat race. Justin Strickland, I remember, finished the morning race in 11th, and he's starting 10th. So someone who finished about 9th or 10th place in the morning heat race, and I confess I can't remember it off the top of my head right now, isn't here for this afternoon heat race. Is it the other Morton? Is it Philip Morton is not here?
It's Philip Morton, I guess.
No, Philip is back here. He's back in 15th. That's right. He dropped back a few spots at the end there. We're going to have to go back and find that one out for you.
Absolutely. Well, we got a little bit of time. Go ahead, Sam.
Anyhow, they're about to come across the crest of a corkscrew here and stand up and play witness for what you are about to receive, or however it goes. For those who are about to race, we salute you. We're about to get this underway here.
Thank you, Father. All right. Gary Hamilton out in front. Now, this time he's going to have an actual second place, fifth qualifier next year. Remember when Rogers couldn't grid, that moved, I think it was Riley Blythe who Christmas came early for, where he got up into second position. Now Blythe back there starting in 4th. Okay, the gold pace car pulls away. Spiral Sliced and Green Eggs side by side. Gary Hamilton gets a nice start. Hampstead looking on the outside. Oh, they have got a big run here from the inside in the 3rd position. Keep an eye on Fagel. They come into the Andretti hairpin. So far, so good. It looks like getting stuck on the high side. That's Hampstead.
Yeah, 3 wide.
3 wide.
With John Peisnick, Riley Blythe, and Mark Rayner has to back out of it. That could have been ugly otherwise.
The drivers are taking the gloves off here for this afternoon heat. It looks like Blythe is going to tuck in, try to close the door on Peestick. Peestick's having none of it as he now has the preferred position. A great battle going on back there for about 5th position, and now the Ford's going to have the preferred line, gets the drive off the corner, and takes the spot. Moving into 5th.
Was there contact there going into 6th between them? Here goes Mark Rayner trying to capitalize if it was.
Rayner in the white and orange car now, side by side with Blythe. As they go through the corkscrew, Blythe caught in the unfamiliar, or the not a preferred position there and is in trouble. Little more contact. Oh, the accordion effect takes effect back there. Slavasi, Farmer, and Morton getting into it.
Yeah, Jeremiah Morton has a huge punch in the nose of his machine, comes back on track, gets knocked off by Mark Simon, and now he's going to drop all the way to the back.
There was nowhere for him to go there coming back in. Oh, Hampstead has spun.
Yeah, big crash coming out of the final turn. Aaron Farmer is in the wall as well.
Ian Ford got into the back of Hampstead, who was running second at the time. Looks like everybody gets around him. Hampstead does a great job of backing the car off. Then there was some collateral damage there. Like Sam said, Aaron Farmer was in that one.
And after we watch this, let's go straight up to John Peisnick, because he completely overshot turn 1 and is in the wall. He has had to take a tow to the garage. So here was the first crash, and then let's go to John Peisnick, because he gets involved in something going down into turn 1.
My goodness.
Did he get help from Strickland?
Looks like he got punted.
Now, John Peisnick had been so cautious during the morning heat race. I guess he just wanted to get in a good starting position for this afternoon heat race. But then he kind of got they all got bunched up here because of the incident in the last turn, and then they're all just trying to sort themselves out, and bam.
So, let's see if we can get things to settle down a little bit as we go back live now. Let's maybe run down the top 5 for you right now. Well out in front, Gary Hamilton. Simon Fagel behind him. He's got quite a distance back to Ian Ford.
I'm sorry, Bill, but Richard Hampstead has got 2 cars banning fenders right in front of him. I'm just keeping half an eye on this, making sure Hampstead doesn't get involved in anything else. Okay, they got it all sorted. Back up to the front there, Bill.
He does. That's Jeremiah Morton in there, and then Hampstead. Remember, Hampstead, even though he had that trouble, every position he can make up now will be one less position he has to make up in the main event. Hampstead currently running back there in about, as we're looking at Riley Blythe in 4th, Hampstead running in about 17th position, actually, and he gets around Morton right now. So let's go ahead now. Let's look at Slavossi in a battle in 7th position. You see that's Shane Smith ahead of him. Shane had that great starting spot. Started in 8th, up 1 spot, mainly because of Hampstead's problem. Look at Slavossi trying to find a way around that car. Go ahead.
Yeah, and now you'll see in front of him a very slow white and orange machine of Mark Rayner. He went off at the corkscrew. That gives the position to Justin Strickland. I know some will question him getting into the back of John Peisnick, but let's give a shout out to Strickland here. He started this race in 10th and is up to 5th. He started the first heat race at the back of a field, or at least he dropped to the back after running off early. So I mean, he's had the whale of a day today.
Gonna win the award for worst cars passed, I would think. You look at this right now, there's Slavossi running in 6th, just ahead of him. Shane Smith is having that good run. Go ahead, Sam.
May have seen some dust kicked up in the final turn there. TJ Brown went off course, which was unfortunate for him because he was in 12th. That drops him back to 16th.
Let's go back to Hampstead right now. He's hit a battle with Morton. Boy, Morton has not given it up on him. Hampstead finally gets around him again. I don't think Hampstead's car is feeling all that well. Although when I look at it, it looks pretty clean. Little damage on the front. Yeah, now I can see it from the angle that I'm looking at now. You can see the kind of has a front wing sticking up there. Keeps the car going straight. And here we're looking at this battle, Sam, that we saw with Slavossi and Smith in that battle for 7th position. Well, Martin has got up there.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bill, we've already documented that the the main event, as Riley Blythe goes off course from 4th place, far ahead of us, but he comes back on in 4th place. The main event, there's going to be some interesting racing going on, watching Richard Hampstead and John Peisnick come through the back of the field. But who are the survivors in this race? The drivers who are going to benefit? Well, the teammates, Simon Fagel and Ian Ford, got through all that chaos. They're running in 2nd and 3rd positions right now, so they're looking good for the main event.
And of course, Hampstead is your points leader. And that's who they're trying to catch, so it's a bad day for him. We'll let the other drivers still have hope of winning that championship, even though he has a huge lead right now.
And here you see the 2 GSRC cars, GSRC branded cars out on track. Jackson Fear and Jeremiah Morton battling for 13th. That's higher than what would be your rivals out there in one of these GSRC cars, I'll tell you that right now. And Freer's going to let Jeremiah Morton by clean pass, because that's how we do it on GSRC.
Freer in a battle right now with Salty Morton. No, I'm sorry, wrong. It's not. It's Jeremiah Morton.
Yeah, and you can see that they're not GSRC team cars. They're from Lit Motorsports, but we just like them for their brand in there.
Oh.
Yeah, Anthony Winkleman was one of the drivers who did not start this race, but I remember he was involved in the crash in the middle of a race. I know there's another top 10 driver out there, I think, who finished in the top 10, who hasn't made the start here, and we're going to find out who that is before the main event.
Well, the good news is for Winkleman, if he wants to come in, he has 20 minutes to run through the field. Watching a battle right now as we look at Shane Smith. He's fallen back to 8th. Of course, that's Slavossi up ahead of him that just got around him. Things beginning to settle down a little bit. There's Salty Morton running in 10th.
Yeah, battle shaping up for 9th here. You mentioned Philip Morton running in 10th. He's closing in on Mark Simon running in 9th here.
Right on board with Philip. Up the hill they go. Looking for that breaking point. Down into the Berkshire. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, Justin Strickland. They're looking on the inside of Riley Blythe, going through Rainy Curve. It's definitely not a desired overtaking opportunity, but he's trying to shake Blythe up here, trying to think about the move for 4th position.
Strickland has been the charger all day. Look, he has a little bit of a toe here. Don't think it's going to be close enough when they get down to Andretti as we ride on board. He takes that car very wide. Gets a little bit wiggly there.
Yeah, nothing happening yet. Meanwhile, I mentioned at the start of the broadcast that Nino Natel had appeared in a Golf liveried McLaren but stayed out of the first heat race. I wonder if he joined the session in the wrong car, because he's on track in the second heat race and you can tell that is definitely not a Golf liveried McLaren.
Sam, you are the best. Nice catch. Looking back here for a battle going on. Not really. The one that we're looking at, Strickland, is really the best one on track right now. Honestly, everybody else spread out 2 or 3 seconds apart. So let's go ahead and stay on this. See what that citrus-colored McLaren can do.
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason for it being spread out is for that big incident we saw in the middle of a race. Of course, the 2 big stories there, John Pleisnick and Richard Hampstead. Hampstead has moved back up into 11th. He has Philip Morton and Mark Simon. Remember that battle we saw on screen? He has both of those in striking range. I think we could see Hampstead get up into the top 9. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get Clint Smith for 8th.
Yeah, I definitely think Philip Morton and Mark Simon in that battle. There, we're looking at them right now, and just at the top of your screen here, watch this. You'll see Hampstead behind them. There he is.
He's a lot closer. Yeah.
So those are our 2 best battles. We're right on board with Green Eggs right now.
So, Philip Morton and Mark Simon just going to let him go here. I mean, they've seen him running them down from behind, but it's the closing stages.
Yeah, they're very close here. Stay on this one. We can see the blimp. Oh, the blimp looks pretty up in the sky there.
The battle for 4th, right at the same time, is shaping up because Blythe got a bad exit out of a corkscrew and Strickland got alongside him. Nothing happening though.
Sam, I think you called it. Strickland is just being pesky, just trying to make Blythe make a mistake.
Maybe thinking.
Go ahead.
Maybe thinking Blythe will miscount the amount of laps that this race runs, and then he could pull off after lap 11. Good thing none of the drivers were listening to me.
Now Hampstead's behind those two other cars. He's making a run.
That's not Hampstead though. Philip Morton makes a move, and Hampstead's going to capitalize and go under Mark Simon and then go under Philip Morton.
I was going to say that's one way to hold him off is to go too wide, but not for Hampstead. As he now, he's going to go wide. That's not going to work, and he's going to lose it.
There's going to be 3 wide here because look at that. Mark Rayner, who was running up there in 6th position, he's lost the front end of his machine.
Yeah, Rayner just got loose coming out and nosed it into the tire barrier, then backed it out onto the track right in front of that battle.
Yeah, and you see him without the hood at the back of the picture there where Hampstead has just gone back by Simon. So Hampstead has made up 2 positions this lap. It's just one of them hasn't been Philip Morton yet. Philip Morton would be for 8th place. And Morton gets a bad exit out of a corkscrew. And the bad exit out of Rainey.
Oh, Hampstead going left, Hampstead going right. Let's go up to 3rd position here with Blythe and maybe his 4th position. And it looks like Blythe is going to lose that spot finally to Strickland. Now Blythe fighting back. Strickland closes the door. No, leaves a little bit of the door open. Blythe tries to duck his nose in there. Not going to get it done.
And Hampstead gets by Philip Morton on the exit of the final turn. The battle now, Mark Rayner, hood or no hood, is putting up a fight still against Mark Simon.
Yeah, it's a nice battle going on. Simon in there, Rayner, Morton behind him. David Jellings even looking at him. Meanwhile, nothing going on up front. We don't need to go there. It's still Hamilton, Vagel, and Ford. We're in 1, 2, 3. We saw Strickland get around Blythe. Strickland comfortably in 4th now, Blythe in 5th, Slovasi and Smith running 6th and 7th.
Tell you what, that thing about the track temperature costing these guys a lap could come to fruition because Gary Hamilton is about to cross the line with less than a minute 15 on the clock. It does look like this will be an 11-lap race.
Well, if you're Martin Slovasi or Clint Shane Smith, you'd like it to be as short as race as possible because they got Richard Hampstead behind him and he's coming. I don't think he's going to have time to get there.
If you're Martin Silvazzi, you want it to be a short race, I think. Oh, Rayner gets turned by Jeremiah Morton and recovers it, but he won't be happy with Morton about that one.
No, you look up dive bomb in the dictionary and you'll see a picture of Jeremiah Morton there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Silvazzi wants this race to go on for that much longer. Clint wouldn't mind it because he's not too far behind Silvazzi for 6th place there. I think if a race ends this lap though, which I'm not going to say until I see the checkered flag myself, that Silvazzi will be able to hold on to that position.
Hey, let me give a shout out to Jeremiah Morton. I just gave him a shot for dive bomb and he just gave that spot back. Nice job, Jeremiah. Gave the spot back to Mark Rayner.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to Gary Hamilton here because he's about to come through the final turn. I'm not going to say it's a final lap, Bill. I'll let you make that call.
Well, I see a checker flag flashing up there on the screen. Winner of heat number 2, the afternoon heat, goes to Gary Spiral Slice Hamilton. Simon Fagel's going to get 2nd. Ian Ford and Justin Strickland. Oh, let's go back. Justin Strickland gets tagged by Blythe. In the final corner, Blythe gives it back. What good sportsmanship by these Aussie drivers there. So 4th position to Justin Strickland, Blythe in 5th. Slovasi and Clint Smith in 6th and 7th. Hamilton brings it across in 8th. Rounding out the top 10, Hampstead, sorry. Philip Morton in 9th. Mark Simon in 10th. Maybe we'll follow all these cars through so we don't have to do the grid.
Yeah, Jeremiah Morton got 11th back from Rayner. You mentioned that he handed the position back. I guess he got it back the clean way on the final lap.
Then we'll just round out here the last 5. Mark Rayner in 12th, David Jellings in 13th, Jackson Freer behind him. All ribbons and curls was Nito Natal he's in 15th. Ribbon and curls, put him on TJ Brown. There, you look pretty in those. In 16th position, sweet 16. Phil Gadd in 17th, 9 laps down. John Piesnick is going to have his work cut out for him in the main event. 18th position. He'll be starting if not at the back, darn near to it. And Aaron Farmer brings it home in the final spot. Okay, we're going to take a very short break, try to get everything working for us here for this 20-minute main event. Don't go away. We'll be back in just a second.
back to back, Scav?
Back to back like a lethal weapon. You're not back to back. That is horrible. Get good.
Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the iRacing Drivers Association GT3 Series. This is round 12 from the beautiful Laguna Seca. Well, we worked our way through the first morning 15-minute heat and then the second afternoon 15-minute heat. And that's going to set the stage for our 20-minute main event points-paying race here in the late afternoon sun. Sam, the first heat was kind of calm. The second heat, not so much so.
Yeah, I mean, take away that big incident that came out of a final turn, which contributed to the one entering turn one. Most of the heat was calm. I think these drivers have done a good job today, but that doesn't change the fact that we have a couple of the biggest names. Although granted, Richard Hampstead here, he'll get to start in the middle of the field, but a couple big names starting towards the back. The most notable of which will be John Peisnick, who was caught out in an incident with Justin Strickland in the second race. So it will be interesting seeing what Peisnick can do trying to get through the field here.
And why don't we take a look and see what the California weather is like for this one. It's weather here, it's clear, 70 degrees track temperature, down to 79, so it's coming down a little bit with a little bit of that coastal breeze coming over this racetrack. Track is clear of dust and the temperature is down. This should be their best grip conditions so far.
Yeah, you talk about the track being clear of dust. I don't know if the drivers will have anything to say about that. They've been kicking up dust there. Now, the race is going to be a bit longer than the two heat races that we've seen. It's 20 minutes in length, which I think when we did the super sprint format at Imola, Bill, it was 30 minutes. So they were required to make a pit stop during the actual final portion of the race. Basically the main event here, but at 20 minutes here, looks like they're going all the way to the end.
Yep, no pit stops today in this super sprint format. Little sprint, and then almost a little sprint here at the end. I kind of like to look at it as if you're watching a NASCAR event and they have competition cautions and they bring it out and then they make you sit for half a day, bring you back out again, throw another caution, make you sit for half a day. We started in the morning, raced in the afternoon, and now going to wrap up with the long shadows here in the afternoon. No night racing here, at least in iRacing. on this track yet.
Just got a couple minutes left to go until the race, and I mean, we're talking about all these drivers who are going to make an impression in the middle of the field, Bill, and that's because the drive at the front of the field, we don't expect a whole lot of people to challenge him. Gary Hamilton qualified on pole position for the first heat race, won both heat races, pretty much dominated them, and right now, even in this 10-minute warm-up, Gary Hamilton is the fastest car on the track in that number 111 machine.
Really, the guy who has been the star of the show, and he's got a lot of screen time because of it, is Justin Strickland in that citrus-colored McLaren. He had a nice qualifying run, started up near the front, probably about 7th or 8th, I think, then got caught up in an incident in the corkscrew. That put him way to the back in the first heat. He had to work his way up to about 10th position, started the second heat in 10th, worked his way up a little farther, and I think now he's going to be starting outside of row 2. So a great job from him.
Yeah, if I recall, he was already towards the back when he got involved in that little incident in the corkscrew. He had been off earlier in the lap, but either way, his lap 1 of the first heat race was not very hot. But as you mentioned, he slowly worked his way back up to the front. And of course, I always worry when a driver does that. Well, have they peaked too early? Are they up the front now and now they're going to start falling back, you know? But we'll wait and see in about 20 minutes time, because this warm-up session is about to wrap up. And the field a little bit smaller now, unfortunately. And actually, Mark Rayner just lost the internet connection. Hopefully he'll get back before we go green. But just 18 cars have signed up into this session.
If you're new to iRacing, it is fun to watch those McLarens backfire as they come down. They shoot out a jet of fuel behind them. Makes it look like the Batmobile. Let's see if we see it one more time here.
No, Strickland.
See if we have the right camera angle here as he goes into the horn. There, you can see it out the tail end. Oh my goodness. Put out the weenies out there and cook yourself up some lunch while you're racing. Okay. Warm-up is done. Let's go ahead and set the grid. As Sam said, each time we regrid here, we get a little bit smaller. We're down to 18 drivers. Okay, well, familiar name on the pole, and that is Gary Spiral Slice Hamilton. He has seen nobody in his windshield the whole day, but now he's got a new guy next to him. This time it's Simon Fagel. Sam?
Yeah, and then we got Ian Ford and Justin Strickland, who placed 3rd and 4th in the second heat race. That's where they'll start here.
Riley Blythe and Martin Slavasi make up row number 3.
Clint Smith has had a solid performance today, starting from 7th there, alongside Richard Hampstead, able to salvage an 8th place finish after his troubles in the second heat race.
5th row is going to be made up of Philip Morton and Mark Simon.
Yeah, the same top 10 here as the top 10 finishing order in the Heat 2 race. For those of you who saw the Heat 2 race and were wondering who that driver who finished in the top 10 in the Heat 1 race that didn't make it was, that was Damien McPhee. Meanwhile, let's go to the drivers outside the top 10 here. Lined up in 11th and 12th are Jeremiah Morton and Mark Rayner.
David Jellings has spent most of the day back here in about 13th position, just inside of Jackson Freer.
Yeah, and Freya, one of the 2 drivers, not gridded up as the drivers roll off the grid here. We know Mark Rayner, it's because he lost the connection, but Nino Natel and TJ Brown will be back behind, so TJ Brown will get to pick up 4 spots.
Inside of the last row is Phil Gadd, and the Las Vegas over-under for John Piesnick making his way through the field is 6.5. So if you want to bet the under, it's 6. If you want to bet the over, it's 7. Watch for Piesnick to make his way through quite a few drivers here in that gunmetal Ford at the very back. There you see it right. Is he not out there? Maybe he did not grid. Is he there?
No, he is. The thing that's showing us off here a bit, Bill, is that Jackson Freer and Mark Rayner have both lost the connection, so that moves John Piesnick and TJ Brown both up 4 positions in that outside lane.
There, we got it in there. Okay, but he's not back to the back like I thought, so we're going to leave the over and under, though, still at 6.5. Okay, the pace car working its way through quarter 6 right now. At least not quite as scary at pace car speed, boy. Next to turn 5 at Road America, or I'm sorry, at Road Atlanta, I think Corner 6 here has got me as much as any track. Up into the corkscrew. Now down out of the corkscrew. Oh, that's a good camera angle right there. Look at that stationary camera. See all those cars coming through.
I had a friend once do that turn on a golf cart. He said the thing almost flipped over.
Would be fun on a skateboard, I would think. Okay, the pace car now pulling off. That's going to give the power to Gary Spyro Sliced Hamilton. With Simon Fagel on the outside. Look at Fagel lay back. He's trying to time the Fagel gets a little bit of a run, trying to time it. Gets a pretty good run, actually, as he starts to move up now on Hamilton. Gather up the chickens. Take cover behind the cows because the horses are out of the barn. And Gary Hamilton leads them down into the Andretti hairpin. Fagel on the outside trying to make it work. Now Fagel's got to worry about holding on to second position. He does. He drops into second. Third spot now goes into Ian Ford. Look at there's that McLaren. Justin Strickland drops into fifth, and a battle back there for sixth. Richard Hampstead on the inside of his teammate behind there it is of Blythe, Riley Blythe, and they are not teammates. I apologize.
Yeah, and he has already moved up into fifth position. Richard Hampstead there. Meanwhile, John Heisnick takes a dive down the inside of Mark Simon. He moves up into 10th place. Heisnick making the most of his opportunity to not have to start at the rear of the field. So Hampstead and Heisnick, early movers here.
Isaac now sitting in that 10th spot. Their leaders remain the same. They work their way through the corkscrew for the first time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Everybody getting through.
Yeah, 16 cars took a green and 16 cars are nose to tail right now, although Hamilton checks out a little bit over the teammates of Fagel and Ford back there in third and fourth. Strickland, we've documented his eventful day as Riley Blythe overshoots the final turn, but Clint Smith not close enough to really take advantage. I think Mark Simon and TJ Brown may have been involved in something. They're still on track, but TJ Brown about to lose a position to David Drellings back there in 13th.
Looking at TJ Brown right now.
Oh, and
the high
spinner
side.
and Andretti, Trevor Meyer-Morton from 12 drops to the back.
Got a little bit of a tap going around. It looks like David Jellings got him.
Yeah.
Also going off was TJ Brown, yeah. It wasn't Jellings that caused the spin, but he had just helped him a little bit as he went around.
And in
Watching
fact,
it right now.
if we
Go ahead,
watch
Sam.
this all the way through, David Drellings just crashed out of a race.
So
No,
there
it looks
goes
like
Morton.
Morton did that all on his own.
Yep.
And Drellings and Brown go around. Brown had to go off to avoid Drellings, but then Drellings wrecks a couple turns later.
Yeah, I don't think the car was feeling good after. I think it got clipped in the left rear. We'll stay on Jellings right now and watch as he comes around through the trees. And oh my goodness, that was not, I don't think, that was, as you see him up there on the wall, that was not a matter of damage to the car. I think that was a hardware issue.
Yeah, battle for fourth here. Simon Fagel has gone off. Simon Fagel's right behind them. He went off at some point during the lap because he was up in the podium position. But meanwhile, Hampstead goes back underneath Blythe and gets that spot from him. That's
It was
fourth
a bad,
place.
it was through the corkscrew. He's got a bad run. Actually, I think he got a slowdown penalty. He cut the left part of the corkscrew. Had to let everybody go by. Had to let Strickland, Hampstead, and Blythe go by. He comes out still ahead of Smith, Slavossi, Morton.
Oh, wow. Philip Morton overshot turn 4 there, and Peisnick almost got into the rear of him. Peisnick didn't know, and he takes 9th place.
Meanwhile, out in front, just having one of those days where everything's going right for him. It's a nice, easy drive for Gary Hamilton. Ian Ford, the newcomer, running in second. There you see Hamilton out in front. And then there we go back to Ford. Go ahead, Sam.
Ian Ford placed in second position last week at Bathurst, and as Clint Smith goes off from 7th, this is not good. Clint Smith is in the wall, which was a shame. He had done everything right up until this point. Now he's going to drop all the way to the back, down in 14th, 15th now. Last of the cars still out there contending.
Boy, that car just started to loop around, and it kept looping. That was one of the slower spins you're going to see. Look at Fagel now running in 6th. Go ahead.
Yeah, talking about Ian Ford, as John Peisnick, and he slid. He did what one of the Mortons did in an earlier heat race. He made me think he was in the pits, but it's because he was on the pit exit ramp. He, I guess, just overshot Andretti, and he drops back from 8th to 9th.
In a battle there with Mark Simon, he's able to put Simon behind him, so now he can go back and try to run down Philip Morton again. Now we're looking at Blythe in that white car from behind, trying to run down Simon Fagel. This is a battle for 5th spot. They go through the corkscrew.
And let's see if I can finish this point about Ian Ford now. He finished 2nd last week at Bathurst, and he said, no, I can't because Philip Morton just wrecked. Boy, every time I begin to talk about Ian Ford, someone else is hitting trouble. Morton, you might want to get off the track there. He just backed up across the racetrack. Now it gets going again.
Oh my goodness, he backed out right in front of Nino Natal, Jeremiah Morton, and Phil Gadd. They all get around him. Maybe he had the timing and scoring. He knew exactly how much time he had to back out, but it was scary. Let's follow this here as he goes through the corkscrew. Now he loops it in. Now stay with it. This is the part that I don't like right here. He just backs it out. Sits it in the middle of the track, and luckily those guys get around him. Ooh. Oh, let's look here at Nino Natal. Wait a minute, was this a replay? Am I live? Did Nino Natal just get caught up in something?
It's live, yep. He's spun. And he's lost his hood on that machine. We've been running in the top 10, and now he's going to tow it to the pits.
They got Phil Gadd. Phil Gadd in the number 6. Looking at it on replay as we try to make sure sometimes we're live, sometimes we're on replay. Here we go, watch Nino. This one, nothing you can do about it. He spins it, loops it around, and then kicks Gadd.
Meanwhile, back up front, Justin Strickland is now under pressure from Richard Hampstead, who has worked his way up to 4th, and he's sinking about 3rd place.
Oh, he's got it. And it looks like Strickland just surrendered it. Oh no, look at that. McLaren's going to have a nice drive off that final corner. Let's see how much horsepower that McLaren has in it down the straight. Oh, that was nice.
And you see a car running out pit road there. That's Traxon Freer, who lost the connection, wasn't able to start the race. But here goes Hampstead looking down the inside of Strickland. And now he gets it.
Strickland, remember, started 4th, was able to make his way up to 3rd because of the attrition that got to, I guess it was Blythe who had that issue. No, Fagel that fell back. So he picked it up there. Strickland kind of has reached his equilibrium here. A little harder to go through the guys that are in the top 5 than it is going through the guys that are 6 through 20.
Yeah, TJ Brown now in the pits, which was unfortunate. He was having a pretty solid performance out there after hitting bad luck in both heat races.
Riding on board with Blythe right now. Looking ahead at Fagel. Actually, he's looking up there. He sees Fagel, Strickland, and Hampstead beginning to pull away from that.
Yeah, this pack goes all the way up to 3rd place with Hampstead, and then Strickland, as you mentioned, holding on to 4th ahead of Fagel. Blythe's back there in 6th. Let's see if I can make my point about Ian Ford here. Ian
good
Ford.
luck.
Yeah. Okay. Last week, Ian Ford placed 2nd at Bathurst. He said the reason he wasn't able to contend for the win was because of lap traffic getting in his way. And the only point I've been trying to make is that he doesn't have to worry about lap traffic today. The thing stopping him from winning today is the fact that Gary Hamilton just has schooled the field in every single session we've seen.
Yeah, even at Hamilton's pace, I don't think Gary's going to be in 20 minutes going to be coming around the lap traffic here. Look at this. Strickland has the McLaren off in the dust. Fagel now side by side on the outside. And it looks like he's going to duck it in there. Tries to close the door a little bit. Leaves Strickland just enough loom. Strickland has to duck it back in now as he falls back to 5th. Fagel up into 4th.
Now Riley Blythe was sitting in the popcorn position there, but not able to do anything to capitalise on it. So he stays back in 6th position for now.
Looking for battles here. This is a nice battle there going on. As you see Fagel just pulling away. Strickland's right in the meat of the sandwich between the Fagel and Blythe bread. Only 12 cars on the lead lap. We started...
Oh, and it might be one less now, because Clint Smith has spun
Again.
in... Something's wrong there. Because he wasn't even holding the brakes. He was just backing it down the hill until we finally rear-ended the wall. Maybe he just gave up by this point.
We'll stay with this. This is some unusual driving technique here. It's not what happens before the incident. It's what happens after he noses it in. He gets a little bit of the dirt. That's okay. He noses it in here. Then he looks like he puts it in reverse, or maybe it's... Boy, it looks like he's on the gas in reverse, or maybe it's just rolling downhill. Maybe he had the clutch in. Rolling like a skateboard. I thought it'd be fun to try it on a skateboard. Maybe he was taking me up on it.
Fortunately, he avoided hitting Philip Morton. The bad news for Clint here is he's the last car on the lead lap in a pretty beat-up car. The good news is he's pretty much solidified 12th position there, because Jackson Freer, we mentioned he lost the connection at the start of the race. I guess he saw on our broadcast that it was there wasn't a lot of cars out here. It was a bit of a demo derby early on, or at least we lost a few cars early on. He's 5 laps down, but he might still be able to get a 13th place finish out of here. So that's why Jackson Freer is logging laps out there on track right now.
Our director is on Justin Strickland. He is Mr. Excitement. Whether he's passing cars or trying to keep cars behind him, he is just has that McLaren all sorts of sideways. Really pushing the envelope on the boundaries of the track. He is something to watch right now. I think this is a matter of Blythe. This is going to be smoother and just going to get him here eventually.
Yeah, well, Blythe, let's not forget, has been... They've had opposite days in a way, haven't they? Strickland started at the back and worked his way up front, whereas Blythe kind of, when Joshua Rogers wasn't able to make the first race, that promoted him to the front row, and he's slowly been falling back ever since, and now they've met here in this battle for 5th. Right now, yes, they are both a bit messy, but they've both got a bit of a gap, like 5 seconds over the car in 7th, Martin Silvazzi. If they can both keep it on track here, they'll end the day with solid finishes.
And this is the best battle on the track right now. Everybody else kind of pieced out a few seconds apart, spaced out. Riley Blythe running in 6th, looking at Silvazzi ahead.
Could be a battle for 9th in the near future with Mark Simon ahead of Jeremiah Morton. Meanwhile, we've documented that John Peisnick has hit some trouble today, and right now he's still back there in 8th place. Didn't have a good race at Bathurst after getting caught up in an incident. So these are 2 back-to-back races that Peisnick's going to want to forget.
Yeah, you're looking at Peisnick now in 8th. You see on the screen Mark Simon. Let's go back into 9th position. This is Jeremiah Morton and Simon in this battle. And Morton has been closing because this wasn't a battle here when I looked last time. So Morton has been running him down. So now we have this battle going on for 8th spot, along with the one up in front for 5th.
Yeah, and the one in 5th tightened up. And now
let's go to 5th right now. Riley Blythe. We get it on replay. Turn 6.
That's going to cost him 1 position, 2 positions to Peisnick.
And I think it's going to cost him another position as oh, that's Freer who's a lap down. Okay, here we go. Watch this. The car gets off in the sand, comes around.
Yeah, Strickland had made a mistake a couple of times before that, so I wonder if Blythe was kind of pushing it, trying to capitalize on that. Meanwhile, Blythe has resumed in 8th place, as we documented, right in front of this battle for 9th between Mark Simon and Jeremiah Morton.
As we look now, that's a lap car that you see on screen that Blythe's trying to get around. And look at that, he pulls it over. Nice job there from Jackson Freer. Bear claw for you at the next Back Market United meeting. Nice job, Jackson. Maybe the good gourmet coffee as well.
Yeah, and Jackson's got a bit of a scratch on that machine as well. Even though he's just logging laps back at the back of the field, he might have been involved in something.
We look at that.
Richard Hampstead has run down Ian Ford for second place here.
Yeah, he's a coming. So let's oh, look at Ford has a, might just be the concertina effect there through the corkscrews they bunch up. But yeah, Hampstead is Hampstead's coming.
And now if these two begin battling quite hard, that could bring in Fagel from 4th place. He's 2 seconds back of him right now. That could change pretty quick. Oh, and Ford's just going to pull over for him.
I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't believe they are teammates.
No, you would think in the closing stages of a race he'd put up a fight. Maybe Ford, being a newcomer to the series, know that there's a bigger picture on play here called the championship that he just doesn't want to get involved in.
Well, I'm sure Richard Hampstead appreciates that. I'm sure not all the guys that are trying to chase Hampstead appreciate that, as they need Hampstead to have all the misfortune that he can find. Things settled down now with that going around. We talked about the over-under mark for John Piesnick. Remember, we set that at 6.5. Well, right now he is at 7. And closing in on Slavasi. He has 4 minutes to get there. There you see the gunmetal Ford of Piesnick running, chasing after Slavasi.
Far behind Justin Strickland, who looks like he'll get a 5th place out of us now with Riley Blythe going off.
And Blythe has distanced themselves from Simon and Morton. That's still a battle going on there. As we look at Piesnick now. Oh my goodness, he's coming.
Yeah, he's pretty much there now. Now how much of a fight is Martin going to put up? We'll find out, because there's definitely a passing opportunity here. Salvasi doesn't go for the block, but he could always try an over-under if he really wants to keep 6th place, but no, it's game over. Piesnick has it.
Speaking of over-under, if you bet the under, you're going to be a winner right now, as Piesnick has got up into 6th position.
Change for 9th place in the same turn. Jeremiah Morton just took it from Mark Simon.
And now beginning to distance himself away. Trying to see if any of these guys in the back who are fast have a chance to catch anybody. Riley Blythe's a long way away from Slavasi. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get there in the next 2.5 minutes.
I'm slightly concerned about mistakes at the end here, Bill, because obviously you don't get fatigue after 20 minutes of racing, but the positions are so solidified.
Let's go up to the lead here, because... Oh, I'm sorry. It was one back. I thought Ian Ford was... I thought the leader was coming, but that's not the case. Hamilton's still out there. My bad there.
Yeah, and Hamilton just crossed the line with a little over 2 minutes left to go, which means we should see about 2 laps of racing left to go, but don't trust my math today.
Your top 5: Hamilton, Hampstead, Ford, Fagel, and Strickland. Your next 5: Piesnick, Slavasi, Blythe, Morton, and Simon.
And then only 2 cars running on the lead lap behind them, Philip Morton and Clint Smith. Jackson Freer is a 13th and last car as Jeremiah Morton goes off course, and that will cost him 9th place to, and in fact that's Jackson Freer, lap car behind him, so it just cost him 9th place to Mark Simon.
Just a self-spin.
This is what I was worried about, Bill. The drivers just getting into a comfort zone and relaxing in the closing stages of a race when they're all spread out. And a mistake like that easy to have happen. But not too much time left for mistakes now, because Gary Hamilton has just crossed the line with a minute left on the clock. This is the final lap.
Hamilton has been up and down this season. He's, of course, he raced early on in the Ford. He gave that up to go ahead and get into that Mercedes. I guess there must be a quota on Fords in the series, because as soon as he got out of the Ford, John Piesnick decided to race one. I think a lot of times it has something to do with what their teammates are racing in the regular iRacing series. So right now, we're watching Gary Hamilton. You can see in the back, way back there, Richard Hampstead, but not a threat.
Well, the way Hamilton has dominated in this Mercedes today almost makes you wonder if he got one of his distant cousins called Lewis to come over and help him out.
There's a chance that Hamilton is actually going to get to Shane Smith. I guess Smith is going to get out as he works his way around the final corner. Smith is almost dead in the water here. He parks it on the side. We're going to see Hamilton go by. That's Smith, who's just pulled over not to mess it up there. And your winner in the late afternoon heat, the main event for the points, Gary Hamilton.
Yeah, Smith just didn't feel like doing another lap. The order remains the same for the rest of the field coming across the line. Don't see any drivers making late race mistakes. There's a din on Martin Silvazzi's fender that I didn't see before back then, 7th, but he'll cross the line in 7th position safely.
You guys who bet the under, Piesnick comes across in 6. 11 cars on the lead lap, the last car being Philip Morton. See if we can get him right now. He's going to be coming right behind Jeremiah Salty Morton. They're going to finish 10th and 11th. Maybe one of those Morton guys can come into the interview after the race, find out if there is any relationship between them. But right now, this is the Global Sim Racing Channel. We're going to take a short break, then we'll come back and run down the entire field for you, driver interviews and close-up shot. Back in a few minutes. You're watching GSRC, which stands for the Global Sim Racing Channel. I'm Bill Soupson. With me is Samuel Ryman. You're watching the post-race coverage of the iRacing Drivers Association GT3 Series, round number 12 from Laguna Seca. We had 2 heats to start it off in the morning and in the afternoon, and then we had the points-paying event here in the late afternoon. We'll show you those standings right now. Gary Hamilton goes wire to wire, wire to wire, wire to wire. As all 3 heats, never saw anybody. The windshield gets the win and the full winning share of the points. Richard Greenacres and Hampstead brings it home in second. Ian Ford and Simon Fagel go 3 and 4. Justin Strickland kind of found his balance there, finishing in 5th. John Piesnick started at the back of this pack, made it all the way up to 6th here. Martin Slavossi gets 7th. Riley Blythe, Mark Simon, and Jeremiah Morden round out your top 10. Sam?
Yeah, and then we get to the drivers who didn't have such great races. Philip Morton had a scary moment coming out of a corkscrew, drops back to 11th there. Clint Smith opted to finish 1 lap down at the end after he beat up his machine coming out of a penultimate corner. He was 12th, 1 lap down. Jackson Freer, I guess he was watching our broadcast, realised, hey, not a lot of drivers in this race, I'm gonna get my connection back. He was 5 laps down, but logs it in a 13th place finish, ahead of Nino Natel in whatever car he was in, back there in 14th. Phil Gadd also placing 11 laps down in 15th, and then TJ Brown in 16th. His car was crabbing. I went back and looked at the incident he was involved in. He was not getting that thing back out there. David Rellens places in 17th after an apparent hardware failure, it looked like, early on in the race. And then Mark Rayner didn't actually take a green flag there, 18th place. Granted though, they're not, I wouldn't say he was last, because we had 23 drivers start the actual event when you consider all the heat races. But at the end of the day, you can't deny, Bill, that it was Gary Hamilton who was the dominant driver today.
And speaking of Gary Hamilton, I have our race winner in here. Gary, do you have a copy?
G'day, fellas. How's it going?
Hey, Gary, I was wire to wire out in front the whole time. You want to talk about the race? We can talk about global warming or women's fashions or the state of pop music right now. What's your choice? Want to talk about the race?
Yeah, look, I'm just worn out with all the women's fashion talk. Yeah, definitely had enough of that one. So, yeah, we can talk about it, right?
How did, I don't know, you had the car out there in front. I guess a little bit of challenge each time going into the Andretti hairpin to start each of these races, but you came out top of each one of those restarts.
Yeah, super happy for that result tonight, obviously. That was really good. A lot of hard work to come up with that set. Put a lot of time in, because I switched to that Mercedes recently and didn't have the best run out last week at Bathurst and put it in the wall. So put a bit of effort in, had a really nice car. And yeah, so at the starts, that was pretty much the highest pressure, just getting that braking point right and not giving these guys a chance. So I pushed very hard on the first laps of every race because, yeah, you give any one of these guys a tow and they'll be India.
Yeah. Well, with the first session having practice and qualifying, the track was really dusty. Was there much difference between the grip, and of course it got a little hotter later on in that second heat, but much difference in the grip between those clean track and dirty track?
I'm not 100% positive, but I certainly found that I went out and I did my first time. That turned out to be the pole time pretty much straight away, and then I knew I could beat that, and I thought it was going to get beaten. So I was out there trying my hardest, and I don't know whether it was the dirt on the track or just not putting a lap together. But yeah, definitely going to beat it. So maybe the track lost a bit of time. Yeah.
2 more questions. It's funny. It seems like drivers just get connected with the tracker sometimes, because it's not always you. Sometimes it's John Piesnick, sometimes it's Hampstead, that you guys are just unbeatable. It doesn't seem to be the same guy every time. Is like Laguna Seca just a favorite track of yours? Are you good at this one?
Oh, I mean, I don't mind the track at all. No, I mean, I was getting quite frustrated when I was trying to set the thing up, but that's kind of what it is. I think what you're seeing is, guys are getting everything right. So getting the setup right, getting the driving right, and putting the laps together. So it's definitely everything. And at that level, you got to have it all together.
Got it.
To come out on top, because it's so close.
Yeah, that's it. You guys are so talented that if somebody does get the thing, if he lines up the solar system right, gets the moons aligned, yeah, it works for him. Last question for you. What's your favorite way to eat an orange? You like to slice it in half, slice it into wedges, or peel the whole thing?
Yeah, I think I'm a wedge man. I kind of like to shove it in there
Yeah.
and then walk around like an idiot with an orange smile.
There you go. All right. Thank you. That's learn a little bit about Gary. Get up close and personal. Hey, congratulations on the win, Gary, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much, and just a big shout out there to Dynamic Sim. I do have one of their steering wheels on here, and it's awesome. It's an OSW setup. It's really good, so thanks to those guys.
Yeah, that's a good plug for him when you go wire to wire for 3 heats. Nice job. Okay, there we go. That was Gary Hamilton, your race winner today. Sam, who you got?
Well, let's talk to our second place finisher, Richard Hampstead here. Richard, Heat 2 race didn't go the plan for you, but you finished second to Gary Hamilton in the Heat 1 race, and you finished second to him in the main event. So at the end of the day, could have you beat Hamilton even had a Heat 2 race gone the plan?
I don't know, he was pretty strong all night. He got pole and didn't really have the pace for him in the first race, and yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it depends on a lot of things. I could have got the jump, or I don't know. But he was pretty strong all night, and it would have been a tall order to beat him anyway.
Yeah, so you did a heck of a job to rally up from 8th place. I think you were 5th by the end of the first lap, and you finished in 2nd. But of course, as we mentioned, you were back there because of an incident in the Heat 2 race. What was your view on that?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame. Obviously, Ian just made a mistake and braked a bit too late and had nowhere to go at that stage, so he just turned me around, but he put his hand up straight away and apologised, so that was all good. We move on, and after that it was just a salvage mission, try to get as many points as I could, and yeah, eventually got up to 2nd, which honestly is probably all I would have done anyway, so really no net loss overall.
When you look back on this race, if you just to win the championship, even though it's looking pretty handy for you right now, if you said that Laguna Seca was a turnaround point, your comeback here, would you put most of it down to what you did in the Heat 2 race, where you came from the back of the field up to 8th, or would you put it down to the final race there, going from 8th to 2nd?
Probably a little bit of both, but I'd say more than anything there was a fair bit of luck as well. It was lucky I wasn't drilled by someone when I was facing backwards at the last corner, or could have been involved in an incident at the start of the second race. Like I made it 3 wide on the main straight, which was a little bit of a risk, but decided to take it, and it did pay off. But I mean, that could have gone wrong, and I could have ended up in the fence with 0 points. So yeah, a little bit of both. Just, yeah, like I said, lucky not to get caught up in any, race-ending incidents.
How were your feelings on the track out there today, racing the Mercedes around there on it, and also the difference between the track temperature in the Heat 2 race? The track was a lot hotter, but in the Heat 1 race it was a lot dustier.
Yeah, do enjoy Laguna Seca. I think it's a pretty good track. Probably one of the best tracks in the American road courses. Yeah, it's a good little challenge. The changing track, it was track got very, very dirty in the first session because it was carried over from the practice and the quali, so it was super, super dirty even in the quali session, and then start of the race. And yeah, second race was pretty warm. I don't think my car really liked it too much. Probably I think Gary really would have pulled away from me if I'd managed to stay in second in that race. Yeah, and then in the third race, I think the track came to my car a bit. The car probably felt better than it did in the first race or quali too. So yeah, but it's good how they have this dynamic track now. It can really change things a lot. Even like in a long race, it can change throughout the race, and it can favour one setup over another, and it's actually a really cool feature.
Alright, well, it wasn't the win for you today, Richard, but it was still a solid points day out there, finishing in second place. We've got 3 rounds left in the season. I guess we'll see you next time at Le Mans, so we wish you the best of luck here. See if you can wrap this championship up.
Alright, cheers guys. We'll definitely be aiming to do that with a win.
And there you go, Richard Green Eggs and Hampstead, your second place finisher today. And now we got a hold of our third place finisher, newcomer. They call him a wild card, but he's now officially in the series, and that's Ian Adams. Second place at, Ian Ford, wrong series. Ian Ford, second place at Bathurst, third place here today. Congratulations, Ian. Nice run.
Yeah, thank you. It's it's been quite a good run. I'm still trying to get my head around this car. I've done a few laps in a few months ago trying to get around it, but jumping back in and only doing about half-hour practice before the race tonight sort of hindered me a bit. And that incident in race 2 seemed to pretty much show that I still have a lot of difficulty trying to figure out exactly where to brake, especially when I was only trying to really just move out just to make myself known there, and went in probably about a kilometre too deep.
You say you're trying to get used to the car. What is your favorite car on the service? What do you feel most comfortable in?
The V8 supercar. I've been doing that for something like about 12 straight seasons. I've won a title and everything over that way, and trying to get geared up for the long-paying qualifiers and that sort of thing at the moment. So pretty much jumping between this here and the Audi, and just still trying to get used to the ABS and that sort of thing, because usually if you're in a pickle like I was, you can pretty much just lock the rears and spin it around, and tonight I was full lock left and still braking, and it didn't really do anything.
Well, what's your schedule like? We have three races left. Are you thinking to be around a while? Because you sure are fun to watch. You think you'll be able to make any of those?
Definitely back for the next one. Can't wait to take these cars around such a historic track. But after that, it'll take it, week by week and see what work throws at me. But
got it.
Other than that, can't wait to be back and racing for you guys, because that was a hell of a lot of fun tonight. It was probably a bit more slippery out on track than I would have expected it with a car with this much downforce. But definitely back for the extreme amount of fun and extreme competition of some of these best drivers in Australia we have here.
Well, it's election time over here in the States, so I'm going to start a poll right now. I asked our winner, Gary Hamilton, and I'm going to start asking this for all the drivers here for these final 3 races. Favorite way to eat an orange, buddy? Slice it in half, slice it into slices, wedges, or peel the whole thing?
Probably peel it bit by bit and just get out wedge by wedge. But other than that, anything that Donald Trump doesn't do, even though I do want to see America become great again.
It'll be entertaining, we'll say that much. All right, well, here's something entertaining watching you all race. Congratulations, Ian, on a podium today. Good luck to you the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Ian Ford. Okay, do you want to do, Director, are we doing one more here? We are done. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up here as it's very early in the morning here in the States. We'd like to thank all of you for watching. We have a lot of people here to thank. We would like to thank, as soon as I scroll down here, scroll. Thanks to the iRacing Drivers Association for organizing this series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Okay. We'd like to thank the Screwed Gamers, Kart Action Media, and Zanardi Course Australia for sponsoring the broadcast. Thanks to the company's equipment and software that you see on the screen right now that we use on our broadcast. The original music you heard today on the broadcast is thanks to Eric Eckelm and Casey Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact them. The next race for the iRacing Drivers Association is next week, October 19th, when the sister series, Formula Renault, races from Mount Panorama. Then the GT3 series is back in 2 weeks for round 13. We talked about it in the interviews from Le Mans, and GSRC will be there to bring you all the action. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including all the upcoming events, your best bet is GlobalSimRacingChannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. At the Global Sim Racing Channel. And now finally, on behalf of my mic mate, Samuel Ryman, our director, Joe Peak, our camera artist, Dougie Beard, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. And now with that said, it's time for us to go have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.